Hello YouTube, my name is Rachel Mayo. Welcome to my channel and thank you for being here. I'm going to be talking about the Sagittarius lunar eclipse, Sagittarius penumbra partial lunar eclipse. It's going to be at 16 degrees of Sagittarius. It's 10 degrees, it's about 10 degrees away from the karmic nodes. This is what makes it a partial lunar eclipse. But don't be fooled, this is not a light one. There is a major T-square aspects where all the personal planets are involved and they're all in the argument. So this is going to be intense. Focus on how it's going to affect you according to your ascendant. So please go to astro.com to get your free natal birth chart so that you can follow along. A full moon happens when the sun and the moon are in opposition. An eclipse happens when this opposition takes place near the karmic nodes. The karmic nodes are called the North Node and the South Node in tropical astrology. They're called Rahu and Ketu in Vedic astrology. These are invisible points in the sky as the eclipses. This Sagittarius lunar eclipse is a South Node eclipse, and the moon rules our emotions and the South Node also rules our past. The eclipse is going to be ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter likes to make everything huge. Anything touched by Jupiter will expand. This lunar eclipse in Sagittarius is going to feel like a full moon on steroids. Who are the people who are going to get more affected by this eclipse? If you are a Sagittarius sun, Sagittarius moon, and if you have any planets on or around 16 degrees of Sagittarius or Gemini, there's an opposition, so both planets on either side will definitely be involved if they are conjunct the eclipse degree. If you were born on or around the 5th of June, you're going to feel this eclipse and you're going to have this eclipse energy in your solar return chart. If Mercury or Jupiter are your Mahadasha ruler for your time period in Vedic astrology, you're also going to feel this eclipse intensely. If Jupiter or Mercury are the Lord of the year, that is the Lord of the year in Hellenistic astrology, you are also going to feel this energy of the eclipse intensely. In order to understand what's going on with this eclipse, let us evaluate what Sagittarius rules. This rules the law, our justice system, our higher education system, foreign travel and foreign lands, and our high ideals, just to name a few. Let's also look at Gemini because it has the North Node. Gemini rules our immediate environment, our siblings, our communication, of course the internet, and the efforts that we make into doing things every day. It's always good to go back into history and see what happened the last time this eclipse happened. The last time this eclipse happened was in June 2001. Can you remember what was going on in your life? Are you noticing anything similar? Are there similar patterns developing? If you do notice something, did you learn something with the last eclipse? Are you going to do something differently this time, now that you're much older? As I said in my last few videos, and I do suggest that you go back and watch them, I did a video on Venus retrograde in Gemini, another video on the nodes entering the sign of Gemini. As you can see, there's a huge stellium in Gemini right now. It's a lot of energy for you to just decipher one piece of the puzzle. So watch those videos. There's more information that can help you understand what is going on, especially if you are Gemini or a Sagittarius. Effects of a lunar eclipse are usually felt a lot sooner than the effects of a solar eclipse. One of the reasons why is because the moon rules our emotions and the past and our ancestors, and the South Node itself also rules our past karma. So you are going to feel this on a very emotional level because it's carrying feminine energy. So the women in our life are the ones who are usually affected by lunar eclipses. And lunar eclipses usually bring things to fruition, culminations, or endings. Solar eclipses tend to bring new beginnings into our life. Leo is ruled by the sun, so the effects of a solar eclipse are more external and they have masculine energy. So the south node is in Sagittarius. This is a full moon lunar eclipse of letting go. Sagittarius is a fire sign. As we can already see, effects of the eclipse have already started taking place in our country. The moon rules the people, so the people are being represented in the sign of Sagittarius, which is a fire sign. They're taking to the streets and taking the law into their own hands because they've lost faith in the justice system. Funny enough, that's what the North Node in Gemini wants us to do. It wants us to let go of some of our old beliefs and ideals. Our criminal justice system definitely has to change. So the people took to the street and spoke with fire, which is on the Sagittarius side. They let go with fire. They let go of their emotions and their anger and frustration with fire. Instead of going to the North Node in Gemini, there will be an eclipse in Gemini, a North Node eclipse in Gemini. At that point, people are going to be willing, people are going to be more willing to sit down and have a conversation. Might see people dropping out of college in record numbers. Young students are probably asking themselves, what is the point of going to university when there will be no jobs? Going to school if I'm risking my life going there? What is the point of investing money in something that has no return? The financial and bigger picture is very uncertain. Sagittarius also rules over religion. As we can see, a lot of churches have been shut down because of the quarantine. If things do open up, some people are going to leave the church. Some people will leave the church for health reasons, and some people will leave because they no longer believe in the church. So the Sagittarius lunar eclipse has officially started the lunar eclipse season. There will be 5 eclipses this year. This year is super intense. So Sagittarius has lit the match for these lunar eclipses to commence. I titled this discussion Little Fires Everywhere because of the T-square aspect happening alongside this lunar eclipse. When all the personal planets are in square, that means they're in argument. Venus and Mars are squaring. They're having a lover's quarrel. I don't know what's going on with Mars and Neptune, but Mars is not happy in Pisces house, and especially being so close to Neptune. And the one who's having it really bad actually is Mars, because everybody is ganging up against him. He's squaring the moon, he's squaring the sun. Both those are irritating and annoying aspects. And on top of arguing with his lover. And his lover Venus has just stepped out of a conjunction, a Cazimi from the sun. So she's all burnt up and feeling tired and just wants to go home. So yes, there are little fires everywhere. Look into your life. Where do you need to put out some fires? Where do you just need the fire to just burn the land and scorch it so that perhaps the soil will be more fertile and you can get a better crop? But all this burning, what is the cost and who is to pay for this? Eclipses are a very big topic and they cannot be simply discussed in 1 hour. There is just so many aspects and so many other things to take into consideration, especially if you're looking at somebody's chart. So if you'd like to find out how this eclipse will affect you personally, please book a reading at rachel-mayo.com. If you're new to my channel and have not yet subscribed, please do so now. Here is why you should subscribe to my channel. I talk about intimate issues that affect us as a society and as mankind. I also review herbal medicine and herbal therapies that one can use to heal the body or boost one's immune system. I usually review products that I've used myself, so you will be getting first-hand feedback. And yes, I am an astrologer. I bring you astrology in a simple way that you can understand and use it for your everyday guidance in your life. Also remember to ring the bell icon so that you may be notified whenever I upload a new video. So let's move on to our discussion. Square aspect between Venus and Mars is going to bring tensions in romantic relationships, and the square from the moon to Mars and Neptune is not going to help the situation either. People are going to be very upset, argumentative, and compulsive. So where do you have little fires everywhere in your personal life? Is it at your job? Is it in your romantic relationships? Romantic relationships are really going to suffer with this eclipse. Only the strong bonds are going to remain. So there are little fires starting everywhere. They don't have to be literal fires, but they're situations that keep coming up and need to be resolved. Look to see what's going on in your Sagittarius house. Is there a little fire starting there? What are you going to do? Are you going to put it out, or are you just going to let the situation burn down? Or perhaps you've just had it, because history keeps repeating itself in that particular area, and it's time to move on. Aries rising or Aries moon. Eclipse will be in your 9th house. This is where there will be culminations, endings, and letting go. The things I said in the introduction apply to you, Aries, so go back and listen to the introduction again. This eclipse could be challenging for you because Mars is conjunct Neptune in Pisces, a sign that Mars doesn't like to be in. And Mars is also in a square with the Sun and the Moon. When Mars is square the Moon, that's an annoying and frustrating aspect. It's an angry aspect. Mars and Venus square, that's a lover's quarrel. A lot of passion and aggression is involved. What makes this square aspect so challenging for you is the fact that Venus is burnt by the Sun and she's going retrograde, meaning she might start bringing up issues from the past and cause arguments. Mars is transiting Pisces, your 12th house, and it's conjunct Neptune, the ruler of the 12th house. This could have you feeling insecure and trapped. Being in the 12th house could also bring up your hidden issues or your past karmas. There is one helpful aspect. Aries is trine a Sagittarius and the South Node. So if you let go of what needs to be let go, allow the universe to take what it needs to take, it's very likely that you will rebuild and build something much better than what you had before. Perhaps it's best for you to take a back seat on this one and wait until Mars moves into your sign on the 28th. You'll have more than 6 months of drive and energy to accomplish whatever it is that you want. Taurus Ascendant or Taurus Moon. This eclipse will be in your 8th house. This is where you're going to see the culminations or the endings and the letting go. This eclipse could bring up 8th house issues. The 8th house is, after all, the house of death, rebirth, and transformation. There could be an emotional ending or an emotional death in the family. For some, there could be an ending of an intimate relationship. And if you have good aspects to your 8th house, this is the time when you could pay off a mortgage or another large bill. So 8th house transits are not always so negative, but with a solar eclipse in the 8th house, I have to bring up the negatives. On the positive side, there could be catharsis with your emotions. You could release some deep-held issues. Can you use one of your creative talents to earn a living? Can you find another job to supplement your income? A South Node eclipse in the 8th house could eclipse out income that is shared. Perhaps your partner is no longer supporting you and you have to be the one to support the family now. It's time to move to your Gemini North Node. You have to start finding other ways to earn a living. Can you use some of your creative abilities? This is what complicates this transit for you. Your own ruler Venus is in an argument with Mars and Neptune in your 11th house. Venus has just finished a conjunction with the Sun, so your ruler is a bit burnt out at this time. You're just tired, you probably just want to get away from everything. There is a situation brewing in your 11th house. Perhaps you're arguing with a friend. Perhaps you're just realizing that this is the time for you to change your long-term goals, your hopes, and your wishes. Taurus does not like change, especially to the things that they love and value, or their money. Money and financial stability is very important to Taurus, as we all know. Right now, it seems like things are out of control, and yes, they are. Be patient and wait for your ruling planet to go forward on June 25th. Also, the upcoming eclipse in Cancer will be much more favorable for earth signs. That is you, Taurus. Gemini Ascendant or Gemini Moon. The lunar eclipse is happening in your 7th house. That is the area where you must let go. The 7th house rules over marriage, long-term partnerships, commitments, and the agreements we make with other people. A South Node lunar eclipse in your 7th house could bring about an ending in a marriage through a divorce or a breakup in a contract or some other type of agreement. If this happens, this is what was destined to happen. Once a relationship is broken up, eclipsed, there is no repairing it. The best thing I can advise you to do, Gemini, is to walk away and start over. And in fact, the North Node in Gemini is asking you to be a bit selfish and take care of yourself. So maybe this is exactly what you need. And for some people, they could be welcoming this type of ending. Perhaps they've been wanting a divorce and their partner comes forward and says they want a divorce too. So this culmination could be freeing for some people. Gemini still has Venus transiting their sign, and they're going to have Venus staying in their sign until August. Unfortunately, Venus met up with the Sun and she's a bit burnt up right now, and she's involved in an argument with Mars and Neptune in Pisces, who are also involved in another argument with the Sun and the Moon. So this situation is really messy. If you want to know how Venus retrograde is going to affect your sign, I suggest you go and watch the video. I suggest you watch the video that I did on Venus retrograde, and also watch the video I did on the transiting nodes entering Gemini. There's a lot going on in your sign, and one small video about the eclipses will not shed as much light. So watch these videos, you'll get enough information. So there could be a situation developing about your career or your status in society. You're confused and nobody is willing to come to the table and negotiate. Perhaps this lunar eclipse is exactly what you need to let go of some things that have been limiting you. Perhaps this eclipse is exactly what you need in order for you to move forward, leave behind what is no longer serving you. What do you really want to do with your life? What do you want to do with yourself? Gemini, this is your time. You may not be seeing it now. Everything will get clearer. And the situation that's brewing in your 10th house, I would suggest you wait for Mars to move out of Pisces. He's going to move out at the end of the month. Cancer Ascendant or Cancer Moon. This eclipse is going to be in your 6th house. This is the area where the culminations, endings, and letting go. After all, this is a South Node eclipse. Dear Cancer, if you had any type of bad habits, perhaps bad eating habits, not working out, smoking or drinking too much, this is the eclipse that could help you let go of these negative habits. Either you're going to choose to let go by yourself or it will be forced upon you. Another situation is you may want to leave your job at this time, or you may be let go. A South Node eclipse is not necessarily all bad. It will end things which are fated to end. We have no control over that. Some of the things that you can do yourself voluntarily are doing your daily routine so that you can be much healthier, or leaving a job that's just dragging you down and going on to find another job that makes you happier. On the positive side, if you were dealing with some type of long-term illness, or you had a tumor, or something that you could get cured or find treatment. Cancer Ascendant is ruled by the moon. So whenever there's a full moon or a new moon, Cancer Ascendant really feels. So you're picking up all this energy from this eclipse, and your ruling planet, the moon, is in an argument with Mars. This is a very annoying and irritating aspect, and both are personal planets. So this eclipse is not easy to evaluate, because not only is Mars arguing with you, with your ruler, Mars is also arguing with Venus, is also going retrograde, and she may want to bring up issues from the past. And on top of that, she's all burnt out from the prior conjunction with the Sun. And on the other side of the square, Mars is in Pisces, a sign that he doesn't like being in, and is conjunct the ruler of the house. So he's kind of helpless there, and he's probably being passive aggressive and taking it out on you. So what situation is going on in your ninth house. Is it time for you to seek legal counsel? Or is it time for you to change some of your ideals? Perhaps it is time for you to move on into your Gemini North Node, where you can be alone, contemplate, and perhaps learn something behind closed doors. This quarantine might actually work in your favor. The North Node just exited your first house, so you had enough attention on you. It would not be such a bad thing to just go and relax in the 12th house. Leo Ascendant or Leo Moon. This eclipse will be in your 5th house. This is where the culminations, letting go, and endings will happen. A South Node in the 5th house is asking you to let go of your creative talents or creative projects. On a positive side, maybe you're completing a creative project. Children are grown up. This is the time when they would be probably moving out of the house and going into the world to live on their own. I like to look at all different types of situations. If you're a young Leo woman, you could have just given birth and decided to give up your child for adoption so that you can pursue your hopes, dreams, and wishes. That way you're starting a new life. And you probably are going to leave the child, you're probably going to break up with the child's father because you don't need the distraction. Others who had an ongoing romantic affair, it could come to an end at this time. And it's probably an ending that you will welcome. The South Node is trying your Ascendant. So these changes could be made amicably for everybody that is involved, and you will be able to move on in a different direction. However, there could be a situation brewing in your 8th house. The 8th house rules over other people's money, intimate sexual relationships, death, rebirth, and transformation, just to name a few. What is going on there? Are there some conflicts regarding money? Is there a conflict regarding your inheritance? Everybody arguing with each other and nobody is willing to reach a compromise? Leo may have to step back from this argument for a few days because your ruling planet is involved in this lunar eclipse and it's being squared by Mars and Neptune, causing irritation and arguments. And since it is a South Node lunar eclipse, that means the moon is in opposition. Things are coming to a head. Something will end. And whatever it is that comes to an end, I suggest that you just walk away from it. When something is taken out with an eclipse, it's not very likely that you can repair it. So just walk away, Leo, and start over. The North Node is in Gemini in your 11th house. So it's asking you to leave all the things in your 5th house, your creative ability, your romantic relationship, and move to the 11th house where you can have new hopes, dreams, and wishes. And perhaps you will get some reward in this house. It's the house of gains after all. Hanging out with your best friend could be the medicine you need at this time. Virgo Ascendant or Virgo Moon. Lunar eclipse is in your 4th house. So this is where the culminations, the letting go, and the endings will happen. Eclipse could probably bring up your deep psychological issues that you have from childhood or resentments that you have about your family or your mother. These issues are being brought up so that you may deal with them and let them go. It's time to deal with them either through therapy, forgiveness, or just moving on. When an eclipse happens in an angle house, the 4th house houses the IC. That's an angle in a natal chart. They're usually very sensitive and they bring permanent fated changes. So unfortunately, if your mother is not doing well, this is the time that things could come to a culmination. For others, this could be a time when they decide to move away from their neighborhood or sell their home. This eclipse is asking you to end some issues that have been holding you back. The North Node is transiting in Gemini. That is your sister sign. You're both ruled by Mercury. So this is a supporting aspect. So whatever it is that you have to let go in the 4th house area, whatever it is that has to end is going to end naturally because the North Node in Gemini has something for you and it wants you to deal with your issues before you move towards your 10th house. Probably a new career is calling you. I've always found that when the North Node is transiting the 10th house, this is the time most people jump into a brand new career, something they were totally not prepared for. And it's usually a career that is fated and they fit into very naturally. On the positive side, if your chart is well aspected, this is also the time that you could sell a house that was difficult to sell. Another thing that could happen if there was a long-term issue going on with your family or your mother, this is the time that this issue will be resolved and people can move on. The square aspect between the personal planets could also reveal perhaps some deception or some confusing situation going on in your marriage or your relationship sector. It doesn't seem that there's a resolution to this issue at the moment because nobody is willing to cooperate or compromise. I suggest you just give it some time and let things fall where they may. What will end, and you can pick up the pieces when everything is said and done. I wish I had better news for you, but I know there's something really special waiting for you in your 10th house. Libra rising or Libra moon eclipse is happening in your 3rd house. This is where the letting go or culminations and endings will happen. This lunar eclipse wants you to let go of an old way of thinking and handling things, or let go of resentments and arguments that you've had with your siblings or your neighbor. For some people, this eclipse could bring a problem with your car or some other type of technology like your phone, a computer, or other gadgets in your house. One of these two items might just suddenly have major problems that you may not be able to fix and you just have to purchase. Problems that you may not be able to fix, so you may just have to let go, buy a new car or a new computer. But I suggest you wait until Venus moves forward. Some people, this could just be some kind of change in their environment. The North Node in Gemini wants you to formulate new plans. The North Node in Gemini wants you to focus on your bigger picture. What are you planning to do? Are you planning to travel? Do you have legal issues that need to be taken care of? Some people could strengthen their faith in God, or some people could change religion. You could find new faith in God or some other type of spirituality. Perhaps some of the issues you're having could be resolved through the legal system, or perhaps you may have to travel for a job overseas. There seems to be a confusing situation brewing at your work, or something to do with your daily routine or your diet. Perhaps a disagreement with a known enemy is getting out of control. Venus is your ruling planet. Usually we look to Venus to see where we can find some peace. Unfortunately, Venus just got off a conjunction with the Sun, so she's burnt out. And you're probably feeling burnt out yourself. And not only that, Venus is arguing with Mars and Neptune in a square aspect. Actually, it's a T-square aspect because the Moon and the Sun are also involved. And when there's a square to Mars, that's your partnership area. So it could be your partner that you're arguing with. That's an angry and irritating aspect. And then Mars is in Pisces, a sign where Mars is not very strong. So he is probably passive aggressive right now. And on top of it, he's conjunct Neptune, the ruler of Pisces. So that's Neptune's house. So Mars has to actually listen to what Neptune has to say. Libra, I suggest that you wait for Mars to move out of Pisces and into the next sign of Aries. That's his home. Then your partner might be strong, but your partner will still be strong, but he won't be passive aggressive. He may not still agree with you because he'll be opposing your ascendant. That's still an argumentative aspect. So let's look to see when Venus is go forward. Perhaps that's a time when you can sit down and try to negotiate, when your ruler is not burnt anymore and she's thinking straight. Or if you can at this time, perhaps it's time for you to take a solo vacation. Rising or Scorpio moon. Lunar eclipse is in your 2nd house. This is where the letting go, culminations, or endings will happen. This lunar eclipse is asking you to let go of something you love and value, or a way of earning money. Scorpio, perhaps you've been holding some stuff in your house and you've been holding on to these things for whatever reason. Maybe it's time for you to clean out your house and give away some stuff to charity. This could be another form of releasing things that you love and value. For some people, this could come in as a loss of a job or another form of income. Or perhaps your partner is making so much money and you don't need to work anymore. That's the hopeful side. Since the North Node in Gemini is in your 8th house and it makes everything big wherever it transits, perhaps you could get a huge loan and start your own business. In the meantime, there seems to be a messy situation developing with your lover or your children. Perhaps a creative project is in trouble. There definitely seems to be a romantic tiff going on. Venus, the ruler of your 7th house, is all bent up from a conjunction with the Sun. And your ruler, Mars, is in conjunction with Neptune in a sign that Mars does not like to be in. Pisces is a 12th house placement, so you're probably feeling tired, trapped and agitated, and probably taking it out on others. And your ruler is also in square with the Sun and also in square with the Moon. This is not an easy situation. All these planets involved in a T-square. It's very hard to give advice on what you should do. I suggest you wait for Venus to start moving forward. This is happening at the end of the month. Also wait for Mars to move out of Pisces. And for most Scorpios, Aries is the 6th house. So if there's an issue that you're having with an open enemy, you'll have a better chance of tackling this problem when Mars moves on into your 6th house. So the solution really here is patience and negotiation. Sagittarius Ascendant or Sagittarius Moon. The lunar eclipse is in your sign, and so is the South Node. So you are hosting this South Node lunar eclipse. The endings and the culminations are going to have to do with you, your identity, or something about your physical body. Is there something that you need to let go about your personality? Perhaps the way you dress? Is there a bad habit that you need to Are there some bad habits that you may need to let go of as well? A South Node eclipse in the 1st house is felt very intensely because it's very personal. So when anything touches one of the angles, it brings a real change and transformation. There's no way you're not going to feel this eclipse. Since we're all different and we all have different hopes and wishes, this could be a transit that lets somebody come out from the closet, or this could be a transit that somebody goes to get a sex change. That is your ascendant after all, and a change in identity. So you are letting go of a prior status. Aquarius, whatever ends was fated and meant to end. So I would suggest that you just let it go and start moving towards your Gemini North Node in the 7th house, towards your partner. This is time to let others take the lead, Sagittarius. This eclipse is going to teach you lessons in cooperation and collaboration. This is the way that you're going to make positive use of this energy and be successful. If you didn't realize that things are no longer about you when the North Node changed into Gemini, this eclipse will definitely let you know. I suggest you watch the video I did on the transiting nodes moving into Gemini, because of course the South Node is in Sagittarius. You might want to know exactly how these changes are going to affect you. And Venus is also transiting Gemini, the opposite sign. Venus, the ruler of your 6th house, seems to be having a tiff with Mars, who is now transiting your 4th house. And Mars is in a sign that he doesn't like to be in, and he's conjunct the ruler of that house, and involved in a T-square with the Sun and the Moon. All these aspects are making this partial lunar eclipse very challenging. These are personal planets. When personal planets are in an argument, it means people are in an argument and there's no peace or resolution. It feels like you're getting hit from every angle. And having Mars transiting your 4th house is not usually a very comfortable transit. and especially being in Pisces. I suggest you wait for Venus to move forward. Maybe she'll stop bringing up issues from the past and wanting to argue with you in the home, since Mars, the argument energy, is squaring the moon, and the moon being squared by Mars is an irritating and argumentative aspect. So there's definitely issues going on in the home. I suggest you wait for Mars to leave your 4th house, and the action will be in your 5th house, which is a lot more fun. Capricorn Ascendant or Capricorn Moon. This eclipse is happening in your 12th house. This is where the endings, the letting go, and the culminations will happen. The 12th house is already the house of endings, the past, and past karmas. So the things that could be ending are things that you probably wanted to actually let go. So this eclipse might work in your favor. If you had any self-sabotaging habits, this is the time to let them go and start over. If you were involved in any self-sabotaging types of relationships, perhaps dating a married man or dating somebody who's not willing to commit, this is the time to let this karma go. The lunar nodes are asking you to move towards your north node in Gemini. That is your work, your diet, your health, and your daily routine. It's time to come out of hiding and take care of issues in your 6th house area. Perhaps you could start a new job, or you have your own business and you're going to become very busy and you may need to hire people. Perhaps you'd become lazy because of the quarantine or just self-isolation. It's time to come out. It's time to start a new diet and to start working out. Since the 12th house is a hidden place and it's a house of karma, our past karmas, I have to address this. If some of you were in jail, this could be the time that you're being released, since the South Node releases things. Or if you were in a hospital for a long time, this is the time you could also be released from the hospital. However, Capricorn, there seems to be an issue brewing with your siblings or your neighbor or something in your immediate environment. Mars transiting your 3rd house can make you very compulsive and argumentative. Are you the one who's starting all the ruckus and trouble? One always tries to look to Venus to see if there could be some peace or a simple resolution. Unfortunately, this eclipse has a T-square aspect. All the personal planets are in argument with each other. Nobody wants to negotiate. Venus has just stepped away from a conjunction from the Sun, so she's all burnt up and tired. And besides, she's arguing with Mars, her lover, who is being passive-aggressive because he's conjunct Neptune and in Pisces sign where he does not like to be. Mars in Pisces is similar to being in a 12th house, so his energy feels trapped. And to make things worse, Mars is arguing with the moon. When Mars and the moon square off, that's an argument, that's frustration, that's just plain angry. He's squaring the sun. That is another irritating aspect. So whichever direction you look, there seems to be a problem. My suggestion is wait for Venus to start moving forward at the end of the month. Then there might be some peace. You should also wait for Mars to move into your 4th house. He might bring some action in your 4th house and still maybe arguments there, but at least he won't be passive-aggressive. Any forced action is not going to work out for you. And if a situation comes to an ending because of the eclipse, I suggest you just let it go and move on. When something is eclipsed, it's done. Aquarius rising or Aquarius moon. The eclipse is happening in your 11th house. This is the area where you're going to see the culminations, the letting go, and the endings. The eclipse is asking you to let go of friends or groups that you belong to. And perhaps you may want to revise what your hopes, dreams, and wishes are. Because after this eclipse has moved on, you may not have the same groups and friends. It's a time when some people naturally end a friendship or leave a group or club that they used to belong to. Some people could also exit some internet groups that they belong to. Another natural situation that could happen is maybe your friends will move on to bigger and better things in a different state than the one you live in. Or perhaps you are pregnant and you're going to be having a baby and you no longer have the time that you had to hang out in groups and with your friends. Anyway, the North Node in Gemini is asking you to move towards your fifth house. Your fifth house is your creative ability, your creative talents, your creative projects. Creativity is also creating children and your romantic relationships. Maybe that's going on so well for you and that's where you'd rather spend your time. Aquarius, there seems to be an issue going on with your earned money or something that you love and value. There seems to be arguments coming from all over the place. One usually looks to see what Venus is doing in a chart to see if we can find some peace and resolution with her. Right now, Venus is all burnt up because she's just leaving a conjunction from the sun. On top of that, Venus is an argument with Mars. It could be about money. When Venus and Mars square, it's very passionate. If only that was the only aspect. But Mars is in Pisces, a house that he does not like to be in. And he's conjunct Neptune, the ruler of the house. So Neptune has a say. With Mars squaring the sun and the moon at the same time, Mars could be very passive-aggressive and very angry at this time. He could even be violent. So my advice to you, Aquarius, is focus on your creative ability. Move on towards the fifth house. The fifth house is where the North Node is, and it's a fun house. Wait until Venus moves direct towards the end of the month and wait for Mars to move out of Pisces. When he moves into his own sign, Aries, he'll be less passive-aggressive. He'll still be strong, but he won't be passive-aggressive. And he'll be much more willing to negotiate. This is Ascendant or Pisces moon. The lunar eclipse is in your 9th house. This is where the endings, the culminations, and the letting go is going to take place. Maybe you're finally accepting that you cannot just get on a plane and travel to any destination. This eclipse is also asking you to let go of some of your old ideals and belief systems. Maybe you will change religions. You could become a Christian or a Muslim or an atheist. Or for some people, if they had racist views, this could be the time that they let go of those types. This could be the time that they let go of those views. Some people leave the church at this time. Perhaps a priest or a guru of some sort could let you down and not believe in that path anymore. If your chart is well aspected, this is the time that you could graduate from university. If it's negatively aspected, this is the time when you could drop out of university. One always looks to Venus to see where you can find peace to a complicated transit. Venus right now is not in a happy place. Venus is all burnt up from the sun. She has just moved away from a prior conjunction. Venus is also square to Mars, who is conjunct Neptune in Pisces, a place where he doesn't want to be. And Mars and Neptune are both squaring the moon and the sun. When Mars squares off with the sun, that's an irritating and angry aspect. And when Mars squares off with the moon, that's another emotional and irrational, irritating, annoying aspect. So Mars is not in a good place right now. And Venus is going retrograde, so she could be bringing up issues from the past. This T-square aspect is what makes this eclipse very complicated, because it's just like there's little fires everywhere, going off in every direction that you turn to. My suggestion for you, Pisces, is wait for Venus to move forward. She's going to move forward towards the end of the month. Oh, I was talking about Mars as if he was in a different sign. So Mars is in your house with your ruler. So you're irritable. I'm under control somewhat because your ruling planet Neptune is also in your sign. But there's just so many things which are firing off at Mars that it's a situation that you might not know how to handle. I would say wait for Mars to move out of your sign. He's going to do so, I think, he's going to move out of your sign towards the end of the month. I believe it's June 28th. So just be patient and wait for the energies to disperse. I hope you found all this information helpful. Please press like and subscribe to my channel so that I can continue bringing you more free content. Also remember to press the bell icon. You may be notified whenever I upload new videos. I'll see you in my next video.